Big news, AFTV are coming to Ghana. We are coming to Ghana in Africa between the 6th and 12th of February, and we're going to be meeting Ghanaian Arsenal fans and doing a watch party around the West Ham versus Arsenal football game. You do not want to miss this, so Ghana, get ready. We are coming. AFTV. Hi, and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with fans who link with January transfer move to Arsenal. Hi, and welcome along to AFTV Transfer Daily, the show that keeps you up to date with players that have been linked with a January transfer move to Arsenal. The window is closing in on a close. February the 1st, the window closes, which is next week, Thursday. Bit of a weird one because normally the transfer window would normally close on the last day of the month, but it actually closes on the 1st of February at 11 p.m. I think that could be to do with the fact that there's a lot of fixtures during the week next week as well. So to give teams a little bit of time to get any late minute business done. So the 1st of February, I think it closes a little earlier in some of the clubs in Europe, like La Liga, I think it's the day before. But the 1st of February is when the transfer window for January closes. And will Arsenal do any business? It's been such a quiet window, not just for Arsenal, but for all the teams in the Premier League. I was looking at it, and last season, there was a whopping £815 million spent in the January transfer window. Now, a lot of that was to do with Chelsea, right? Because they just went absolutely crazy, if you remember. There was also the emergence of all these deals with Saudi Arabia as well. So there was a lot of money being spent and moved around in the transfer window. So far, this transfer window in the Premier League, so far, because we still got until, next week when it closes, under £35 million spent. What a quiet window it's been. And the team that seems to be doing the most activity out of the Premier League teams, and especially the top ones, is Tottenham. They've brought in a couple of players. They brought in a loan deal. They brought in a defender. Is a lot of that to do with the fact that, say, Tottenham, for instance, they received a lot of money for that Harry Kane deal, so they've still got money that they can spend. They've got available to spend this January transfer window. Other teams who spent big, like Arsenal, on players like Declan Rice, having to be a bit more smarter, having to keep their powder dry. It's been really interesting that this window is just nowhere near what spending was last window, and teams just getting a lot more sensible with it. So what will the signings be for this January transfer window? Certainly not going to be Victor Osimhen, but it was interesting yesterday that Victor Osimhen, he did an interview with a friend of the channel, by the way, Alexis at CBS, and he told them that he's already decided on what his next move is going to be, and it all points towards the Premier League, where Victor Osimhen wants to come and play next. Now, we all know it's going to be a huge deal that gets him out of Napoli. He's said to have this release clause it seems to differ every time you hear it. Some people are saying it's 110 million. Some people are saying it's right up to 130 million. But he seems to have this release clause, and he says he knows what his next move is going to be. Now, will it be Chelsea or will it be Arsenal? Chelsea at the moment are the favourites, but Arsenal seem to be in the running. Manchester United have been mentioned. Every top team is going to get mentioned for a striker that scores lots of goals, and Victor Osimhen is one of those. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens with him in the summer, but he's certainly not going to be a Napoli player come the summer. Let's be real. He's made it clear over there at AFCON that he's going to be on the move. There was also this other big rumour that was flying around yesterday about Martin Zubimendi. Now, according to the Spanish outlet AS, they're saying that Real Madrid and Arsenal are very close to an agreement over Martin Zubimendi. We know that he's said to have a £50 million release clause. We know that Mikel Arteta is a massive admirer of Zubimendi. He wanted to bring him in last January transfer window, but was unable to get the deal done. Zubimendi said he wanted to stay with Real Sociedad. They were still in the Champions League. They were fighting to get into the top four for the Champions League, which they did achieve. They're still in the Champions League at the moment. Zubimendi would be a great signing for Arsenal. I sort of spoke about it yesterday that he would definitely be that sort of Thomas Partey replacement long term. But interesting that they could be close to agreement. There have been some people, though, who've been sort of pouring a bit of cold water on these rumours, including Fabrizio Romano, who said he doesn't know of any agreement between the two clubs at the moment. But as I said, this outlet, AS, they're saying that there's some sort of agreement that's very close to an agreement being made. We know that Barcelona would love to buy Zubimendi, but they'd certainly have to sell players before they could have any interest at all in buying him. And Bayern Munich are also very interested in him as well. But would Zubimendi be tempted to come to the Premier League, especially with the amount of interest that Mikel Arteta has showed in him? It would be a great signing for Arsenal if it happens, but let's wait and see how that one works out. Now, Arsenal linked today with an ex-Tottenham player, Kyle Walker-Peters of Southampton. 26 now, Walker-Peters, a very experienced fullback, plays right back, can play left back as well. Now, we know that Arsenal were very interested in him in the summer when they were trying to look for sort of backup in those fullback positions. In the end, Arsenal went with Timber, bought Timber in. Timber, who's actually was playing as a centre-back at Ajax, but was versatile enough to play in the full-back positions. But we know that he's picked up that injury. And it is an area of concern for Arsenal. You know, Tomiyasu, who's been brilliant there, gets injured a lot. We know that, you know, there's been lots of injuries to Zinchenko, and it is an area of real concern for Arsenal. Now, according to Team Talk, they're saying that Arsenal would like to bring in Kyle Walker-Peters before the end of the January transfer window. Southampton definitely don't want to lose him. They're making a real push now to come up into the Premier League. They're having a real good season right now. After a slow start in the Championship, and they're pushing to get back into the Premier League, and he's a very important part of their team. Their manager saying recently that, listen, as far as we're concerned, he's not said to us he wants to leave. We've not heard anything from his agent. There's been no deal done yet, but that doesn't discount the fact that Arsenal could come in with a late offer for Kyle Walker-Peters, but Southampton will not want to see him leave, because he's a very important player to them, and getting up into the Premier League is absolutely huge for any team. So going to be interesting, that one. I think that's going to be definitely one to keep an eye on before now and the end of the January transfer window. Kyle Walker-Peters of Southampton. And Karim Benzema spoke about this one yesterday. It started to remind me of 7 years ago when I was talking about this every day. Remember, it became Benzema Daily, right? Team Talk claiming that he definitely wants to leave Al Ittihad. There was claims yesterday that he's been already offered to Arsenal. I asked a question yesterday to you guys. Would you take Karim Benzema? Because he's still been heavily linked with Arsenal today. He's been linked with Chelsea. There's said to be another team really interested in signing him. I asked that question, and you know what, let me go through a few of your comments. And by the way, thank you for all the comments that we get, not just yesterday, but on every single Transfer Daily video. It's absolutely unbelievable. Love the interaction. I try to read as many of them as I can. And you guys have always coming up with some great comments there. I even read the ones slagging me off, saying, why are you doing it today? We're not bringing in nobody. I remember people saying that last January as well. There was one guy, I remember last January, absolutely slaughtering me every day, saying that Arsenal are not bringing in anyone. And then we signed Kivior, So that's how you never know in a January transfer window. But on the Benzema thing, I asked the question, should Arsenal try and sign Karim Benzema, you know, if we're being offered him and if he's available? At Sazzle89 says, yes, loan Karim for 6 months. It's a no-brainer. Cisse Keyfall 708 said, short-term signing for Benzema will benefit Arsenal. But Ags 1883 says, no, he said Benzema will be a good for a short-term arrangement. We shouldn't commit to his wages for the long term. Obviously, he's on humongous wages at Al Ittihad. If he did leave there, he surely have to take a big wage cut if it was a loan. Kate MS2MN says, I think all the people saying that we should sign Benzema will forget all about their opinions in a year. And if we did sign him, they'll all be saying we were fools to want him in the first place. The same way they all want to have a striker who can bring a different style of playing, but scream that we need to stop tinkering whenever we are actually trying a different style of playing. So that's interesting from them. Winston Brewster 6772 says, definitely no on Benzema. Reasoning, age. It will take him a long time to get used to the pace in the Premier League. It will only be temporary. Could upset the younger strikers in the team. That's quite interesting. You know, Mikel Arteta has spoken a lot about how he loves the players he's got. Would that upset a Jesus? Would that upset a Eddie Nketiah? Do you care if it upsets them? You know what I mean? This is a big club. You know what I mean? This is the way it goes at a big club. Somebody might come in and you just got to suck it up and get on with it. The age thing, I think what's interesting what he says there about the age and about him taking long to get used to the pace of the Premier League. I think there is something in that. Philly Galas says, if Benzema rumours are true and we have declined this, we are a joke. 36 or not, he's better than what we've got. And for 6 months, you can't go wrong. I hope this is just a rumour and not the case. I'd be highly disappointed if it is the case. So he definitely wants Benzema. And Run Up 7029 says, or Run It Up 70029 says, I would take him for his experience. He could pass on to the strikers while he's here. He can double Eddie's output by showing him how to outthink a backline and how to move, etc. My only concern would be him in the press. Does he have the legs? Again, a great point. Would Karim Benzema suit Arsenal's style, which is, you know, we like to press? Has he got the legs for that now at 36? I know he's playing in La Liga. La Liga's definitely a much slower pace. The Saudi League, definitely a much slower pace. Would he then be able to come and cope with the rigors of the Premier League? Really, really interesting. Be interesting to see where Benzema ends up at the end of January. Listen, thanks for watching the show today. We'll be back tomorrow, of course. Check out all of our excellent content here on AFTV, and I'll see you tomorrow.